If you're a service provider, whether you're an agency or a freelancer, one of the most common questions that I get is, should I put my pricing on my website or should I hide it? It's actually really frustrating as someone who purchases from service providers all the time to not see pricing, but there are valid reasons why you wouldn't, especially if you're doing a lot of custom work with custom quoting. So today we're going to look at 3 service providers. They're all agencies. They're all kind of in the marketing realm, and 2 of them have their pricing shown. 1 of them doesn't. We're going to take a guess now at who's the most expensive. And yeah, let's dive in. And just remembering that we're looking at pricing strategy, not price point. So pricing is everything around your pricing. It's how you lead your customer to the price and set them up with expectations for what it's going to be before they see it. And if you've done that really well, what happens is your customer will say, yeah, sounds like a great deal. There's a lot of value in this. Let's do it. Or if they need to negotiate a little bit, they'll come back to you and say like, hey, it's a little bit out of our budget. What can you do for this price? Rather than ghosting you or just being like, no, sorry, I can't afford that. So we're going to look at 3 different agencies' websites. 2 of them have their pricing and 1 of them doesn't. Any guesses which one is the most expensive? I'm sure we will come to that conclusion together. So the first one we have here is Studio 4 Flag. They put their pricing proudly on their website, which is really great to see. Honestly, it's just refreshing when you're doing business. As someone who does hire agencies, my personal input is that it's really good for me to see your price so I can immediately qualify whether or not you're in budget or out of budget. It's really good to just be like, is it even worth me reaching out? Because I'm researching 10 to 15 agencies before I go with one. So 4 Flag, they do have a kind of boring title here, which is pricing plans. That could be better. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you will have known that I think that the H1 on the pricing page is unused real estate to reiterate your value proposition and drive home why they should be picking you and not just simply pricing. So they actually have 5 pricing options on this page, but there's just 3 visible here. So there's starter pack, launch kit, and content library. They all have the price available. And they don't necessarily double in price. Like starter pack goes from $900 to launch kit being $2,000, but then launch kit to content library is a straight double. For me, on the price point side, that probably means that there is some room for them to change the price to do the psychology of, what's included versus is it double the price or double and a half or things like that. So there's some room for them to play with their pricing, but let's go into the tiers themselves. So they do have, I'm going to get to a very unfortunate mistake in a second here, but they do have these really nice descriptions under each tier saying who it is for and why they would buy this. This is actually amazing. 10 out of 10. The mistake we're going to get to is that they forgot to fill in one on content library. So if you're watching this, please go fix that because it's actually really good. Okay, what's included? 30 to 45 minute planning call, up to a half-day shoot at one location, 30 to 60-second hero video, 2 15-second cut downs, 10 to 15 edited photos, 1 round of revisions, 5 to 7 business days from shoot. I think that is also missing some copy, like that you'll get it within 5 to 7 days. We're not going to go into the numbers of like what the value of each one is. I just want to point out a few things here. So because they are so specific in the number of items that you get per tier, here at least, what that does is kind of open you to someone negotiating with you in a way that's annoying. So someone might come in and say, I want this, this, and this, but I don't want 40 to 60 edited photos. I only want 20. What can you do for me for that price? If I remove that, what can you do? And my suggestion here is instead of saying like, the band 40 to 60, you can say up to 60. And then it just means if you don't use 60, that's your choice. I'm not guaranteeing that you'll get between 40 and 60. I'm saying you can have up to 60. And if you want to go over 60, then we might talk about additional fees per image or something like that. Option 4 of the pricing is a retainer. So the other ones were project rates. This one is $6,000 plus tax. I'm assuming per month, because everything else in here is per month. So again, this is your part-time in-house content team. Compared to the quality of the copy that they included on the first 2 tiers, not the third one, I do think this could be improved. They also have a lot of space. This could be where you reiterate the ongoing value for your business of consistent quality content that is, releasing regularly. There's always something new. Are you busy? Do you have events? Do you have seasonal stuff? There's ways to remind the customer, like, oh yeah, I do actually need that. I wasn't thinking about that when I came here, but now that you mention it, that's perfect for me. And again, just the comments on the ranges, it provides the customer less wiggle room to try and fudge around the numbers if you say up to. Pause or cancel anytime. I would add, 30 days notice because you don't want someone canceling day off. And then our fifth option is, need something a little more bespoke. Bespoke is a nice word many agencies use. Boutique, bespoke, custom. Not every project fits neatly into a preset bundle. If you have a specific brief, budget, or weird shaped idea, we can build a custom package around it. That's very nice. Short and simple. Okay, here is where I get into a bit of a hopefully constructive criticism for Fourth Leg. The next section on the website is called Workflow. Every project is an opportunity to push boundaries, tell a story, create something truly memorable. And then if we kind of ignore the column on the right and we're just looking at these headings, what we are getting is Fourth Leg's process, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a mistake I see a lot of agencies making where they focus on, well, this is how deeply we are going to care about the craft of the work and how we are going to follow these steps, and we're going to be so meticulous and we really care. And unfortunately, the reason that someone is coming to you as an agency is because they don't want to do that exact thing that you're talking about. They don't want to do the steps. They are outsourcing that to you. What they are wanting is the end result and the value proposition that they are going to get. So instead of saying, we're going to do this and then we're going to do that, instead, what you could change that to is, you don't have to do these things. You don't have to prepare, do a timesheet, do a whatever. We will do that for you, but you can totally cut out quite a lot of the details. Okay, so here's a specific example of that. From there, we turn the brief into a story. We share a simple, strong concept and build a treatment that outlines tone, references, formats, and key movements. This is work that they don't want to do. Finally, we get to, you'll see how it looks and feels before we even roll the camera, with room for feedback and refinement. The content is not wrong in this situation, but the angle of it is very centered on the agency rather than being centered on the customer. So for this concept and treatment section, instead of having all of this it'll be, you'll get ... document X days in advance with time to review and, fit your schedule. We're not going to rush you. And then when you're happy, all of that will just happen. You don't have to do anything. If you want to, show up and have fun. We'll bring, I don't know, something for you to do, focus on the customer. Okay, if we keep going down, they have a contact us. That is fine. They have the footer, and then they have an FAQ. FAQ is interesting when you're on pricing pages because so much of it is for SEO these days and for pulling into AI summaries and things like that. But they do have some pretty good specific questions that I'm assuming they would have gotten from people asking them all the time. And that is what the F in FAQ stands for, frequently asked. So how many revision rounds are included? What counts as a new version versus a revision? If you've ever worked in marketing or design or anything like that, the interpretation of the word revision is very loose for some people. And so having this specifically in there is really great. So there's, stuff in here for SEO, but there's also stuff in here for customers. Overall, I think Fourth Leg have actually done a really good job. Our next agency is Jaffle. They build affordable websites and they put their pricing directly on the website. So what we have here is a dedicated pricing page. It's not the home page. They have used a H1 that says websites aren't boring. Your website should do more than just exist. It should inspire, captivate, and deliver results. With a focus on custom design, responsive functionality, and SEO that works, Jaffle crafts websites that stand out and provide real value for your business. The best bit, our pricing. Quality websites should be available to everyone regardless of budget. The trap that I see Jaffle falling into is kind of similar to the trap that Fourth Leg fell into, which is caring about their craft and not about what the customer is actually hiring them to do. So inspire, captivate, and deliver results. Can they give examples of what these results are? Hopefully they have case studies that will, but in this copy here, it's a very vague term and they've really focused on the, love of design, love of the craft, which again, they're writing for themselves rather than writing for their customer. They have some really fun copy on the pricing, which is the next section down. We don't want you to jump through flaming hoops to get something as simple as a quote. They have landing page and design, 3,000, full website, 5,000, Shopify, 6,000. So basically the Shopify is like if it's a different platform. They have done a great job of including personas and use cases. First one is great for personal projects, product launches, special promotions, or building a dedicated sales funnel. The next one is the works, start to end, conception to completion, your very own beautifully crafted, unique, and powerful website. It would be great if they maybe qualified, like, does this include e-commerce? Does this include payment gateways? There's actually very complicated types of websites out there, and they've kind of just said everything, which may or may not be good for their target audience. And the last one is get you selling on Shopify with a custom theme, setup, support, guidance. No DIY setup needed. We got you. That's quite nice. They also offer this as a download. So if you are the person doing the research to select an agency's shortlist, perhaps, and you're going to present this to your buying group in a B2B business or something like that, they've given you a tool to pass on, which is actually really nice and quite rare. One of the things about making your pricing public and why it is good to do is because it just makes the process really easy for the person trying to buy you. If you make them jump through a lot of hoops, as they've already used in their copy, it can just turn them off and be like, you are too difficult to work with, and so we're not going to work with you. The next piece on their pricing pages is actually, I think, too short. They include what's in these packages. So if you buy it, the inclusions are unlimited pages and a visual editor. Unfortunately, it stops there. So they've, talked about the craft and inspiring and captivating and, all this stuff up here, but where is that in the rest of the page? There's really not a lot of information, which some people might want. They have some interesting FAQs, and I want to point out one of them. Why are your prices so low compared to other agencies? And the answer that they have provided is, it's simple because we're small business owners too. We understand the challenges of turning big ideas into reality on a budget. That's why we offer everything the big agencies do. Custom design, expert development, and optimized performance without the eye-watering price tag. However, we are a small team and can only take on a handful of clients at any given time. So if you're interested in upping your website game, don't delay in reaching out to us. This is messaging that they could be using all over the whole pricing page. Again, when you're picking an agency, you are picking someone that you're going to be working with. There's a working relationship, there's a human relationship. And so focusing on what it is like to work with you is a value proposition. This person is going to be responsive, easy, open to feedback. They're not going to try and take me for a ride. There's all sorts of things that you can play on. This is not to discount the business style of what they're doing, but it does sound like they are just running a business to make ends meet and enjoy their lifestyle. They are not running a business to grow a huge agency to sell and have a big payout at the end. And that is totally fine. I do that too. Highlighting that in your pricing and website can be a real big attractor to people who want to work with like-minded people. And by signaling who you are and what you're like, you are attracting the type of customers that you want. So that's it for Jaffle. And now onto our last one. This agency is called Love and Money. If you can't tell from the name alone, they love money. I have gotten a quote from this agency before, and it was very high. Very high. Unsurprisingly, they are the option out of today's examples of who don't put their pricing publicly. So let's go through their website. It's also the longest. And it was a very complicated website that really slowed down my laptop. So they are big on showing, not telling what they can do. Let's just have a scroll. We've got, Creativity Loves Company. We've got all these brand examples of who they've worked with. We have case studies. We have a little bit of copy, not a lot. We have their product types, agency toolkit, and benches. Again, we have more case studies from recognizable brands. If you don't know any of these ones, perhaps you know Polaroid. Brands are memes. This is their... Whenever a brand has like a manifesto, that's adding to the price. If they are big thinkers, they're probably charging their clients amounts of money that mean that they have the luxury of sitting around and thinking. And that means they're charging a lot. The fact that they've, got trademarks in for their frameworks and stuff like that is also just proof of that. The copy they have here, see the talks we've given at Figma's Config and Brand New Conference and learn about how ideas actually change the world. In addition to having your social proof, your as seen in, if you've done press, the fact that they do talks at conferences, regardless of whether they paid to do them or they were invited to do them, agencies showing up to events and being on stage is a pretty cool thing to talk about. It shows your authority, which is another angle to add to the social proof and the case studies with, people listen to us. We charge a lot of money so that we can think about things, so that we're on the forefront, we're innovative, we're, creating new things. They're good enough for us to trademark them, and we're attracting the types of customers who want that sort of thinking, who want to be at the front, who want to be extremely competitive, the first to market with a new thing. And that, again, comes with a price point. We have more case studies and social proof. More case studies and social proof. They have how to engage with them, ask us to pitch. They specify that they don't charge for pitching, which some agencies do, especially the larger ones. And the last thing I want to talk about from Love and Money is this section here, which if you are a service provider, agency, or solo, this is actually a really good way to create revenue for clients who are not quite ready to sign a retainer. And that is to offer a figure it out workshop. You could call it a sprint. You could call it a discovery session. I just would really recommend not calling it an audit, because everybody's trying to sell them audits and no one likes that. Audits are not actionable. What they have here is creating something new is by definition a task not fully defined, and it's hard to cost something up if you don't know the outcome. Honestly, really good positioning here. If you know that you need some work done, you don't know what it is, and you kind of want some certainty before you engage a supplier, this is for you. This is a counter positioning to, oh, well, just let us in and then we'll tell you what we want to do, which is what a lot of agencies do. If you're not quite sure what you need, try our free workshop. I would actually say that they probably could charge for this if they wanted to. This is clearly a, funnel for them. It's a top of funnel option. If you're a smaller solo professional, I would definitely say productize something like this, a 2-hour, 3-hour workshop where the point of it is discovery to figure out what the customer wants. Then you go away and make some suggestions, but it's a collaborative, we are coming to a conclusion together. We are, clarifying the vision together. You have hands-on, which means that you as a client are a little bit more bought into the process and the outcome. By the end of it, you'll have a quote designed not just for you, but by you. It's exactly what I was just saying. So what do you think? If you are a service provider, agency, or freelancer, where do you fall on the spectrum of showing your pricing versus not showing your pricing? Have you learned anything in this video? And are you going to change anything on your website? Hopefully you've seen that copy is really important, inclusions, use cases, highlighting who your product is for and focusing on them and the outcomes they get rather than you and how much you love what you do, which is great, but you can put that on an About Us page instead of your pricing page maybe. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this. I will be doing more of these videos, so please like and subscribe.